Hi everyone, welcome to the episode 4 of MOV Leaders Season 2. This episode is very special episode because we are going to have two amazing ladies in the forum. Chanda and Varsha, both of them are from Coinbase. Chanda is having 17 plus years of experience in engineering field and she is happy to do problem solving. And she is always a very strong woman who come across various ups and downs in her career journey. And we have Varsha. She is also a tech enthusiast. She worked in various organizations like Microsoft and Bank Bazaar. Both of them are here today to discuss about a very pertaining topic, how to navigate your career roadmap. What are we waiting for? Let's welcome these two amazing ladies to the show. Welcome, Varsha and Chanda. Welcome, Chanda and Varsha, to the show. And today's topic is also very special, building the career roadmap. It's not easy, right? Building and navigating a career roadmap is the toughest part of every individual. And that too, it is not very easy for females who are moving up in the leadership career. So you both have done that amazingly well. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So
Very excited to be here.
Thank you,
thank you.
Scindia.
Thank you. First, and this is the first time we are having two guests on the table. So let me go one by one. So, Chanda, this is the most toughest part for everyone. So, when they start their career, most of the people will not know what they want, right? And they will be a little bit like most of the people will be on campus placement, or someone will just get into something which is available for them. Later they have to put a career roadmap for themselves, so it's not always easy. I have been there, you have been there, everybody would have been there. So it is always everyone understands this baby steps, but how to take this first step and how to build this as baby steps and make it as a career roadmap? What is your take on that, Chanda?
Excellent question. I think the key thing, right, especially in early career, and by the way, which will remain true for almost all the years to come, is to invest in yourself, is to know yourself, right? I think spend some good time to know your strengths, skills, and limits. I think these are the three key areas where we should invest very early, and we should keep investing on a recurring basis. Leverage your strengths. This is something which is something coming naturally good, you are naturally good at, right? Use them to outperform, to stand out, and build your own USP. Trust your skills. Skill is something which you can learn or develop through practice and repetition, right? So always look for opportunities to sharpen your skills as you go. Continuous learning, and at times early learning, by the way, is also a great key to build that skill momentum. Challenge your limits. Be ready to step out of your comfort zone. There is a very nice quote which says, if you want to learn to swim, jump straight into the water. On dry land, no frame of mind is going to help you at any point of time. Now, based on this strengths, skills, and limits assessment, I think what is very important early in the career is to set very high goals for yourself. Don't be afraid to dream big. Set high goals, stay focused, and don't allow yourself to be goal jacked. I think this is a very important term which I'm just introducing, right? Especially for women, as traditionally they have not been their own decision makers. They have allowed others to influence almost in every aspect of their life, right? So set your own goals, stay steady and focused on what you want to do long term in your career. Do not let anybody challenge you or get in the way of you, tell you that you can't do it. Believe in yourself and believe that you can do it. Keep that vision very clear in front of you, and accordingly, plan your career roadmap, and I'm sure you'll get it. By the way, as I said, right, this is not something which only applies for early career. I think at every step of our progression in the career, we have to kind of keep repeating and reassessing this. So I would say, yes, this is very important in investing again and again in yourself.
Chanda, just a follow-up question on this in our conversation we just get. Always, it's like you rightly said, this assessments are very important. Most of us, even in the later stage of the career, don't do that often. In the beginning of the career, I just wanted to connect your personal experience. When you started your career, how you started your first baby step and how you know this is what I'm going to do, or it is like later years you gone, because a lot of people get confused in the beginning stage of their career. So how did this happen to you, Chanda?
So for me, this didn't come naturally, right? Again, but what happened? I think I got lucky that I got good mentors along the way. So many times when we can't do this assessment, people around us, our managers, our mentors, help us go through this whole journey. What I just explained, right? So yes, either you do drive it yourself, with which I now can say when I reflect back on my experience. But since I didn't do that early, I had kind of good people around, especially my manager and a mentor who helped me, kind of do this, and which was very, very beneficial in early stages of my career.
That's very important, right, Chanda? Because a lot of people don't ask for help. They feel that maybe if I go and ask, maybe they will judge me that I don't know what I'm going to do. But we all are there in this stage, as Chanda rightly said. The one again and again, time and again, I keep reiterating this. This MOV leaders itself is a baby step initiative for people to show that there are a lot of people who were like you and who were not knowing what they are going to do and how they struggled, and they are just passing the learning curve on you. So one thing that was interesting for me in your conversation, Chanda, invest in yourself. A lot of people don't do that. So invest in yourself is not always like finishing a certification. So that is also being misrepresented a lot of times. It's not always the certification or your academics or credits. That is something, the only investment you will do on yourself. The time investment is also a very important thing, right? So you need to practice. I get to do that. I always practice a lot. So while walking in the morning, my routine is like I see the meetings what all I have today, and I try to assimilate thoughts in my mind. I used to debate with myself, okay, what if there is a question comes like this, what if there's a question comes like this, am I enough prepared? Okay, I'm not prepared. If they ask this question, okay, now let me go and prepare. So that is also investing in yourself. So keep invest lot of time on yourself also, and retrospect also. So some, this is an amazing word, invest in yourself, sometimes get misrepresented like only certification and academics. That's not the case. That's something I just wanted to reiterate here. So Varsha, over to you. This is my I always used to think like, how will I make my team members to navigate this journey, and how I sometimes I used to think how I navigated this journey. So this is something key again for every individuals. So like, there is a, each role requires a different kind of expertise and different kind of learning. But when you move to the career path, it is very important that you cross that. For example, you cannot be a great people manager if you're not a great IC, but it doesn't mean that all the great ICs are great people managers. So both are very, very different. So the corollary don't always stay true. So how do you see this difference in these roles, and how there should be a smooth segue into this, Varsha?
Yeah, I'll start with a personal narrative. I've switched between the role of an IC and a manager 3 times in my career. I started at Microsoft. I used to work in Seattle. Um, I started as an IC intern. I moved on to become a full time engineer. I worked for the .NET framework team back then. I I was an individual contributor for about 4.5 years, and then there was an opportunity to be promoted to a manager. That was my first switch. I still
Mhm.
remember the words of my manager then. I was a little skeptical stepping into the shoes of a manager back then. It just felt like, it's still too early for me. But something he said really resonated with me, and it stays with me to date. He said, Varsha, look, you're going to learn one thing or the other about yourself. One way or the other, it's going to be a learning. You're either going to know that you're cut out for this, or you're going to know that you're not cut out for this. Either ways, you're going to learn something about yourself. So take a plunge, right? And so I did. And then I continued on to be a manager leading different projects on the .NET Framework team for about 4 years. And there were certain organizational changes that came about. And there was a time when I had to switch teams. And back again, I actually elected to switch as an IC while I was moving teams. This time I was moving to another team called Cortana. A lot of you might already know Cortana is a digital personal assistant on Windows devices. So again, I had personal reasons to do this. I elected to do this because at the time I was expecting my second child, and I really wanted to use a certain flexibility that the role of an IC brings you. And I will touch upon that in just a moment, but let me finish my story first. And a couple years within the switch to an IC, I became a manager once again. So now I'll touch upon those points that I was about to say. So as an IC, your contribution to the team is largely individual, but you need to realize that even as an IC, as you're growing in seniority, you are a leader in your own right. So this is something I want to emphasize. In present day world, I think across all of the top companies, name it, right? Facebook, Google, Microsoft, whoever, right? They all have parallel tracks of progression. They all talk about an IC track and a manager track. And there may be a level 1 and a level 2 and a level 3 and so on, right? As you're growing across those ladder levels, what you need to remember is that the expectations of whether you're an IC or a manager at a certain ladder level is commensurate. Just the mechanics of how you deliver that impact is what is slightly different in the two capacities. As an IC, you are individually invested in the project, you're very hands-on, you're inspiring people around you, you're leading by example, you're championing the team. In that regard, as a manager, you're an enabler. You lead teams more by inspiration. You derive gratification on seeing people that report to you succeed in their own careers. You invest in them, you watch them blossom. So it's a very stylistic choice. I want to also touch upon the very last instance where I did switch between an IC and a manager. The last one was when I actually moved to India from Seattle in 2016. And when I moved, I actually jumped into a completely brave new world. I switched, I had been tenured at Microsoft for 13 plus years, and I switched over to the world of a startup. I just plunged myself into a completely different world. And at that time, I decided that I'm going to lean on a certain strength of mine. And that strength was in my ability to teach myself. I'm pretty good at teaching myself new things. And so what I decided to do is I am going to switch over as an IC once again, embrace this new world of startup and open source stack and whatever that entails, right? So I gave myself 6 months, and voila, once again, I was a manager within 6 months within the same organization. So one thing I learned about myself is, every switch that I made, it was very, very organic, and, it was inevitable that I got promoted to be a manager. And I realized where that came from, right? It came from my ability to do those exact things that I was speaking about, right? I derive gratification from watching the people that I enable grow and blossom. I want to be that enabler, right? And that's at the core of how I operate, and that is my style of operation. So really, in your career, my message, or to my audience would be, if you are looking to decide one way or another, really don't think of it as a binary and a final decision. There is no finality to any of this. There is always a prospect of switching back and forth, because at different times in your career, different things may be suitable to you. So have that willingness, and do embrace the fact that leadership is independent of reporting hierarchy. You can be a leader, and you must be a leader as you rise in your role and your capacity, independent of whether you are in the role of a manager or an individual contributor. And continuous learning is, the only constant, right? All of us learn and grow independent of whether we are an IC or a manager or however that be.
every episode I learn something new, Varsha. That's the whole first selfish motive for doing this episodes for me. The one thing I was astonished from the way you said, switching from manager back to independent contributor is always not an easy choice. So it's I have seen people struggling with that. You know, when even they wanted to take lightly because of some personal reasons or some health reasons, or they wanted a flexibility for studies or whatever the reason may be, but they always struggle that switch. So they would have got used to being a manager in a way, and again you come and be an independent contributor. A lot of people think that as a step down, but as you rightly said, it is a different role. It need not be a step down all the time, right? So we even in the 20 years of experience, people are still ICs because they are specialized in certain thing and they need to be hands-on on certain thing, and that's been even more, they are actually even paid higher than people managers with that much of experience because they've been looked as a specialist to that job. So it's like there is a lot of wrong myth between ICs and managers. People think managers are senior people or superior people, and ICs are juniors who are working under them. No, managers are people managers. Their predominant quality will be to manage people, manage them, and get a particular goal out of. But independent contributor is kind of a craftsman, right? Who comes and delivers it. So they needs a lot of hands-on experience, and they need to know, what's going on. And a good IC will only make us a good manager because you know what is going on every step. So when you are managing a team, you will be reasonable with the team. So it is up to you. Even it's not like everyone need not become people managers. So if you like to be an IC, and if you wanted to be superior in that, you wanted to have more career growth in that, it's possible in today's world. Like if you as like Varsha, Chanda, if you are in technology field, it's highly possible. So when you go and craft that, it is possible. So that is one thing I learned. Don't look like managers as a superior thing, and ICs as a different thing. And the switching to back and forth is not a wrong thing to do. But a lot of people, once again, like, that leads to my next question, has to take sometimes a career break because of a personal reason. Either they go into a family way, or someone in their home is not well, or they themselves are not well, or they need to take a break for pursuing their studies. This is common in lot of women thing today. And lot of people I have seen, we are discussing this with multiple guests. We are just trying to take their insights and share it with our audience so that they can also plan their career break. So a lot of people are so apprehensive of taking the career break because they are scared that they will never be back in the game, and they have a feeling that world will move faster and I'll be never be able to catch up. But I have interviewed a lot of amazing ladies who have gone through this career transition or career break, and still they are highly successful. One example is like one of my known friend. She was the regional manager for NIIT across India, and she was holding a very senior position, but two kids. So she felt that 10th, 12th and all, she need to give a lot of time to her children. So she took a considerable amount of career break, say like 10 years she took a break. And people will never think that this kind of people will never come back and have a work a tenure again. But she went to an international school, and she has picked up a role as a faculty manager. And there she started helping students to get placed and so on. So she's doing great in there too. So it's a small break, longer break, you can always come back to the game if you're determined and if you plan it properly. So to both of you, it's a common question. Maybe Chanda, you can go first. What is your tips for people for getting back from a career break, and how do you see this whole career break journey in any woman's life?
Yeah, I think that's $1 million question, right? Especially for every woman. And by the way, personally, again, my personal narrative on this side is I've been on multiple career breaks in my last, kind of 18 plus years of my journey. that is where I condense and say my overall experience is 16 or 17, because I feel that, I was on considerable career break during this whole journey. Couple of maternity breaks, couple of sabbaticals, but I think one of the most challenging one was when I, had a almost like 16 to 18 months of career break in between, when I left IBM, and then, because of personal reasons, and I had to switch back and come back into this whole industry, right? So I can speak a lot from my personal experience. I think first of all, right, it's very, very important to accept the situation that you are in and be positive about it. If you're serious about a long-term career and stay positive and determined, things will start falling in place over a period of time. So being positive is very, very difficult, I know, in many of these situations, but I think that's the most important part of it. And trust me, by the way, again, from my personal experience, right, you will be completely lost and you will feel worthless once you think of returning after a career break, right? It's a very natural feeling, because things around would have changed so drastically, right? Things are moving so fast in this fast changing world. And this is the time to stay positive and invest again in planning. I think that is the key for, kind of any of these returns. So plan really well for your return. Invest your, put your own plan, get it validated with your, mentors, with people whom you feel can give you the right advice, right? But I think that's the key. Go right to your basics by maybe investing in reading, by investing in taking courses, by doing if you're a programmer, do a lot of coding. If you do a lot of, kind of reading around the role which you are preparing for, right? But amongst all of this, right, I think one very, very practical advice, which I feel many people miss it and get disappointed over a period of time, is, not preparing yourself for multiple periods. I think it's very important to have that mindset. Plan it, but also prepare yourself for multiple failures in this journey. And I've seen this, by the way, personally, for at least the initial period, especially when you are returning after a long break, right? Hence, I'll encourage people to put together maybe a plan A, plan B, plan C, and few more, right? Because things will not be smooth. Trust me, it will not be smooth. I had a terrible time when I was returning from that 16 to 18 months career break, right? But I did keep that patience. I was positive. I had my plans, backup plans. But eventually, yes, it took a little while and I was able to succeed, right? So after all of this planning and failing and, succeeding, I'm sure eventually you will taste, success. You will be able to, kind of get some breakthrough in that career return. But what is more important, that is obviously the first part of it. But I think there are a few more other important aspects of it. One is, I think very, very important, which I think especially women, kind of don't do it properly, is, define your own success based on where you are currently, rather than where you were before the break, right? I think you are not in your past role, you are in your current role. And that acceptance is again the key, right? You're not the same person you were before your return. You should define success differently at different points in your career. What you could achieve before your break might not look possible immediately after the break, right? So set realistic goals for yourself, make granular plans, and then start knocking them one by one. I think that is the key. And more than that, once you start, kind of meeting those small goals, small expectations, doing those small meeting, enabling those small success stories, start celebrating that. That is, again, many women are not good at. We always, underestimate ourselves. So start celebrating that. If others are not doing it for you, if the environment doesn't do it for you, do it yourself. I think that's very, very important. Pat your back for all the small, big achievements, whatever you are achieving, especially in that initial period. That initial period is a tough time to bounce back, right? By the way, it's not a mean thing of where you started before your return and then where you are today after your return, right? So celebrating is very, very important. And I think one very, very last practical advice in this whole journey, right, based on my personal experiences, especially during the early stages of your return, right? Start thinking of the long term also. Because I think we take a very short-term goal that, okay, I need a job, I need to go back, and then once you go, then what, right? But I think that is where you need to start planning for the long term, your long stint in this run, right? Start choosing your battles very wisely in every sphere of your life, not only work. in every sphere of your life. It's very, very important. You have finite energy and time, and not every issue is worth the fight of your time. If something that doesn't justify your time and efforts, just pause, reflect, and then maybe change the course, right? Don't challenge yourself to become a superwoman. Trust me, that's the pitfall many of us fall into. It might just burn you out very, very soon. I've been there. I've dropped that word super multiple times in my journey. Just being cognizant of the fact that I'm okay. It's okay not to be a perfectionist all the time, and especially during that phase when there is a lot more breadth to be covered, right? So there are so many aspects of your life which you will have to deal with: your work, family, personal growth, social life, mental and physical health, which are very, very important, right? Striking the right balance early is the key, and it will set you up for a long haul. So I think that is very, very important, kind of plan that short term and then think for the long term.
Very well said, Chanda. The one thing I am still struggling is to sometimes, not being so hard on myself. You need to learn to forgive yourself for certain mistakes. And still, to be honest, I'm learning and I'm struggling. I always wanted to be perfectionist, and that will not happen, right? So I'll be like, why I didn't do that? I should have done like that. It was a mistake. That always comes to me. But I have learned in my multiple things. One point of time when I thought that this is a bad thing that happened to me, it's not fair, or this shouldn't have happened, I should have done that. But couple of years later, it is always time and again it got proved that it happened for a reason and it's for good. So I don't know, it may look philosophical, but at least in my life, and I'm coming across multiple wise women advice like my mother's. Um, Something happens, it is for a reason. You just need to be patient and you just need to navigate and weather the storm to dance in the rain. So I'm very happy to see, Chanda, you learn to dance in the rain and celebrate the small moments in life. I'm sure the ultimate motive of the life is to be happy and keep others happy. That is only possible when you learn to expect for uncertainties and be prepared and weather the storm instead of just thinking that your world has come to a stall. So for women, we need to wear multiple hats. We need to balance all the phases. Sometimes a balance will fall here or there. It is normal. Just we need to get up and move on with the road of journey. Thank you for that, Chanda. Varsha, over to you. So I know that Chanda has covered most of the areas, but in your wise experience, what do you say on the same topic?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Chanda spoke about most of the pertinent things already. I just want to touch upon a couple of other things that are important in my perspective. Um, One is networking and building your allies. Um, I think I didn't do this very well in my early career, and I know about this. And there are junctures like these in your in whether you're coming back after a break or you are looking to switch jobs. These are times when the network that you have built is something that you can lean on, and it's super duper crucial that you do so. So invest in building a network from day one. Know your colleagues, know your sponsors, know your allies, keep in touch. It's important because when the time comes, these are the ones that actually help you find those right opportunities instead of plunging into a dark unknown space where you may not know anybody, and you're setting yourself up for you're giving yourself a better chance if you go through your allies, through your sponsors, through your network. So that's a small thing that I wanted to say. And the second thing I also wanted to mention is when you are indeed coming back after a break, be very deliberate in the kind of organization that you choose to join. Be aware of the culture that that organization supports. Um, like we all know, the FANG companies, they all, pretty much every one of them have a return to work program one way or the other. Everyone calls it by a different name. There's Google. Google has something called Next Innings, I think. Amazon has something called Microsoft has something called Springboard. Amazon has got something called Rekindle. So they all, want to help in this cause. So be cognizant of the culture of the organization and how amenable it is to suit the flexibility that you desire, right? Because these are times when you do want to lean on the organization to invest back in you, right? To give you that flexibility. And so you must seek out places that give you that. And I think these are two important facets over and above everything else that Chanda already covered.
Very interesting, Varsha. Actually, I was thinking that, oh, Chanda covered everything. Now, what Varsha will say. But you have covered another great area which everyone needs to be in, be prepared for. See, one thing I learned from both of your, answers is just be ready. There will be a career break for everyone at point of time. It's natural. So if you're not having a career break, it's great. But it's natural to have as a woman when you're navigating in your career journey, because it's not like we're going to stop working after one milestone, right? We wanted to work like now it's come to a society where men women both wanted to work till their retirement age, most of the people, depending upon their ambition and their career path. So when you're wanting such a long career innings, be ready for taking some short breaks. Sometimes it is required and necessary. So navigating your career roadmap is a very key important topic today for all the women to start and accelerate in the leadership journey. Thank you. You both are an amazing example of doing that. Thank you for coming into the show, Varsha and Chanda. Anything you wanted to add?
No, thank you for having us over. It was wonderful talking to you and your audience, hopefully, and they can potentially draw a straw out of some of the experiences that we've had.
Sure, they will have a lot of takeaways from this episode. I'm so
Yeah.
happy and glad for that. Thank you, everyone. Until I tune in with all of you with another exciting guest, this is Scindia signing off.